Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of It's Positively Lana. If this is your first time seeing my face, I invite you to make it not the last time that you see my face. We have nice conversations here about life to spark positive change in the world and inspire you to be more you. So with that in mind, this video is the second one now of the series called Love Sparks. I have a whole playlist going now. There is one final episode that is coming at the end of February. So if you have not seen the first, there should be a suggestion that pops up right about here to also let you see that first video, because this is a buildable series and we're going to jump right into the second part. The foundational question for the second video is, do you love others in a way that grants space for evolution? This does tie back to a couple of foundational questions in that first self-love video regarding conditions, because as you love yourself is really translating into how you begin to love others. So what I really wanted to look at here is the space for growth. And that doesn't just mean the space for growth for that other person, but intra, like between the two people in the relationship. So that also has to do with the growth of the self and the growth of the person who is in that type of relationship. Doesn't matter if it's romantic, if it's platonic, friendship, family, all of them. All relationships can be broken down into fundamental elements that really resonate with how one loves themselves, therefore how you can then push that out or extrapolate that into how you love somebody else. Let's get a base understanding of growth or evolution. So that's really looking at, do you allow others to be a newer version of themselves? So the second question that came in that perspective, if we're sitting in that frame, is, do you constantly remind others of their past? This is one thing that I used to love doing, and it wasn't only stunting myself, but it was stunting others around me, because just because someone was in a certain place in their past does not mean that that is exactly where their future is going. They can make different decisions. They can make changes if they choose to. And that's why I'm not a huge believer in people can't change. It's that people often choose not to change, but that is independent from how you interact with that person. For example, often people say, like, nothing changes if nothing changes, and that may be very true, and we are constantly in a state of change no matter what you try to do. Nothing stays the same for forever. So if you see a pattern in somebody's life and you care about that person, the best thing that you can do is allow them to be themselves and be in that present moment of who they are, and not to constantly bring up what they've done in the past. So in each moment of life, we are creating the future. If we're constantly looking behind us, not only is that stunting where we could go, because yes, there are many lessons in the past. I'm not gonna knock it there. I'm definitely a believer in what I've experienced is like my toolkit, but I also know that if I constantly just ruminate on my toolkit and constantly look behind me, I'm gonna miss what's right here and also where I'm going. So in the case for my own personal growth in relationships, to let them flourish, you have to, one, give enough space that that person can do exactly what they need to do for them, but also to not constantly go back to what they've done before. They know. Believe me. They know. I know. Everybody knows. So it's like, this is the piece that ties back to how you treat yourself. That is definitely a reflection on how you mirror yourself. If you're very, very, very invested in other people's lives, it probably is an indication that you need to take some of that energy and reflect it back to you. I was the queen of this. Because I'm very intuitive. I can see patterns, and I would be very vocal about these things without being prompted to speak on them. Cringeworthy now thinking about it. However, there are two ways to kind of give mutual benefit if you also have gifts of intuition but want to or are choosing to create that space for others to be them without constantly bringing up the past. One would be in these conversations or in these moments that you may recognize something, bring an invitation before just speaking out. I did not used to do this. I have learned now to do this, where a simple invitation such as, do you want me to comment on that? Or do you want comfort? Do you want solutions? Or are you venting? There's many ways that you can just ask people, or to say, I have an observation, would you like to hear it? That gives them the option to say yes or no, whether they take your observation, your advice, your intuitive gifts, that is on them. It is not a personal attack if they do not take it. Let me say that again. Just because you give somebody advice does not mean they have to take it. I'm speaking to myself as I'm speaking to you guys because this was another thing that I had to learn. So, personal backstory. This was the crux of one of my longest standing relationships. I was best friends with another woman who we started very, very young, little tots, 5 years old, I believe, maybe even younger, and went all the way through our first couple of years of college. And I am no saint in this portrayal because we, as in many relationships, we had our fallings out from things that I was doing, things that she was responsible for, and that's the way that it works, is that we both took responsibility for where things were. However, it was too late for the relationship to continue to flourish, as it's just where we were growing was not growing together. And that's okay. And for a long time, it was like we were trying to force it to work, and that was not giving us space to grow as individuals. And at the end, it was nothing but love because we gave it a second, a third, a fourth go. And it just wasn't meant to continue to be. Which actually brings me to my second point. Just because it's not forever does not mean it wasn't magical. I think we get really hung up on the idea that, or the sentiment that forever brings security. And if you're founding your relationship on the prospect of forever and gripping to that person because it's supposed to be forever, let's just backpedal a couple steps here and take a bigger look at what that really should look like. Friendships, family relationships, romantic relationships, platonic friendships, any combination in between, multiple romantic partners, whatever it may be, we live in a world that is constantly in flux. And if trying to keep something forever is the reason that you're still struggling or battling or gripping for a certain relationship, it's time to reevaluate if forever is worth that. And I'm not saying and advocating here that it's just like, oh, you just throw in the towel because things got difficult or trying. No, that's not what I'm saying here. But that idea of gripping on to another person just for the sake of holding on to that person, that isn't going to give you the result that you're looking for, no matter how hard you try to cling in those situations. On this channel, we really look at having pluralistic thinking. So tied to what I just ended with, of just that gripping just for the sake of gripping isn't going to get you what you want. That also does not mean that that relationship wasn't fundamental, foundational, a teaching moment, magical in its own right, beautiful just in the space and span that it was. It does not have to be forever for it not to be tarnished. It also could be forever and it not be magical. So it's like there's many angles to take when observing or just engaging in human interaction. We're gregarious by nature, and with everything that's been going on for 2020 and 2021, we've had to get more creative of how we get together and what that really means. So the quality of relationships is the essence of what you're building in your life experiences. If you had a relationship that seems a relationship type that continues to hit one after another, you may want to turn a little bit of attention back to yourself to find out why this exact type of thing keeps happening. There are no coincidences in life, especially when it comes to repeats of specific types of relationships that remind you of another person, or that this exact thing gives you almost like deja vu. There's a reason. There's something you need to learn. It'd be worth investing what that thing is. This brings me to my last point for today's video, which is that piece of figuring out or listening to find out what that missing piece may be. If you're seeing repeat relationships, or if you're seeing just lessons in general come back around, this ties to others, but also for the self. Listen to your intuition. Phrased as a question, do you listen to your intuition? Do you even know what that means right now? At many points in my life, I didn't. Or, let me scratch that. I did. And I didn't listen to it. And then things went wonky. And then I go, why did things go wrong? And it was because I wasn't listening to myself. That gut feeling is a real thing. If you're getting it, probably for a good reason. Yourself will never betray you. There are so many outside sources that'll come, even me, even this one. So many outside sources that will come to be able to bring information, data to you to then go, does this fit with where I am in life, with who I am, with where I'm going? And you get to make that decision. But yourself will never mislead you down a path of betrayal. The biggest betrayal that we can actually do is to not listen to ourselves. So that also feeds very, very deeply into how you build fundamental relationships in your life, first, second, third connections, whatever they may be. Because if it doesn't start with a foundation of good intuition about where this relationship is going, if it seems like a good fit, if it feels healthy, and I can't exactly explain what that sentiment is, because it's going to be different for every person depending on where you are in your own experience of life. But it's a stepping stone. Does it feel healthy, or does this make me feel drained all the time? Do I give this person the runaround each time they try to contact me? Do we go to lunch, brunch, eat avocado toast? Because apparently that's all we do as millennials, I guess. Do we eat avocado toast? And then at the end of it, I'm like, wow, I don't ever actually want to hang out with this person again. But then you say, as like a social conditioned thing, oh yeah, today was a great time, let's hang out soon, with no intention of actually wanting to hang out with that person. It is okay just to end it with, hey, I had a great time today. Hope you, like, take care. Or, hey, I had a great time today. It was great seeing you. Boom. Don't need to give a false representation or a false, like, let's hang out. It's okay to say no. And it's definitely okay just to say, this was great. And give it silence. There doesn't have to be, let's do this again, let's do this monthly. Like, I still to this day do this very, very minimally compared to before, but it's like, sitting here thinking about it, it's funny, isn't it, that we would give the pretense that we want to see someone when in reality we don't. And it's almost like you're hoping that they won't text you back so then you don't have to do the thing again. Or, on the complete flip side, this may happen to you. And it's not a personal attack on you. It's that whatever happened, came to be, does not have to be forever. The friendship can just be, it could be one avocado toast and done. And be a wonderful memory and a great stepping stone to find new teachers, new friends, new romantic relationships, whatever it needs to be. And yeah, that for this video, the foundation of self is what takes the longest and really is always recalibrating along the way. So that's going to feed into your relationships that you have outside of the self, and also how you interact with people that you no longer really have connection to, or may even deem to be an outsider or an other, or even your enemy. So, in this series for Love Sparks, that is the last place we are going to explore. So, I hope to see you back here next Wednesday. Subscribe below, comment below if you like these types of videos, if you really enjoy seeing me just talk at the camera, bringing you into this conversation, into my brain. Well, invite you into these conversations from my heart, because that's exactly where we're staying these days. It's all love. Thanks for spending some time with me, whether you're watching the video or just listening to the audio. I'd love to get some feedback from you. Follow me over at It's Positively Lana on Instagram. The conversation still goes on there, or again, right here on YouTube. So, subscribe, watch the new videos, watch the old ones if you haven't. It's great to see you. Take care, guys.